Get ready, everyone, and you just might survive. Ruben and Jason are here with their X-Men deep dive. Going through all the X-books is their mission, so get ready for the Learned Edition. Things are getting weird in here. Ruben hopes another sword book gets announced this year. It's the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men comic show. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed not to blow, except your mind. It's the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men comic show. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed not to blow, except your mind.
Welcome all you weirdos, finders of random Shi'ar war fleets, and everyone who enjoys practicing abstinence, but only when it comes to voting. It is time to receive your 197th Weird Dose of X, the mutant member of your Weird Science podcast family. I am your host, Jason, broadcasting to you as always from the Wrong Turn studio, perched high atop stately Weird Science Manor. And joining me today from out of the murky mists of Russian folklore, it's my pal Ruben. Hey Ruben, how the heck are you today?
I'm great. I'm Baba Yaga's other ex-boyfriend.
I didn't want to, blow up your spot like that, but that's true. Yeah, you and her used to be quite the hot thing.
Yep.
Oh, boy. So as I start talking to the microphone, I realize my voice is a little bit even scratchier than I thought. I assume Jim's going to fix this in post. I think he has like a Barry White filter he can just put over the top of this so I can sound nice and smooth and sexy. So if it doesn't sound like that, it's Jim's fault, so you can blame him.
It's probably my fault for destroying the soundboard. I feel like we're going to get some punishment. Hey, it's back. Or maybe you have it and he doesn't.
I must have missed something. What was the matter with the soundboard? I might not have been caught up on what I've listened to.
Oh, God. Yeah. So last week, or maybe I could be 2 weeks ago, when I was doing the solo cast.
You had some fun with the soundboard, which was
yes,
great. I enjoyed that.
You have an archive of sounds that you gave me the link to. And so I thought, I must be able to just go into the recorder and remove free up some space. So I deleted some recordings.
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like 12 slots that you could have for active, buttons to say things like
Learned Edition.
Right. They get stuck sometimes. And if you can have those active and ready to go, but if you want to use other ones, you got to delete something to open up a slot for a new one.
Yeah. So that's what I did, and I loaded up the ones I was using for the cast. And then, unbeknownst to me, apparently I deleted like the original copies of some of these sounds. So Jim lost a whole bunch of audio files. Now, I don't know why he doesn't have those backed up. That I feel like is very
I don't
unprofessional.
know what his system is. I have, what is 3 copies in 2 different places, one of which is off-site? Yeah, something like that. I got my Google Drive folder full of all my crazy sounds. Yeah. Oh, well.
So I mean, he has been very kind. He's been very kind about it and not barbecued me too hard on the podcast.
Okay.
But there have been a few sort of secondhand shade comments that I've heard on a few of the casts, and I'm just going to own it. I'm the guilty party, and I apologize for.
I do have some of the classics back up, so I still have.
I like the killing,
which that's a classic one. So
yeah,
maybe I have some of these in my archive. I'll have to talk
I
to Jim
legit told him to go back and talk to you and see. Like, I was like, he probably has like 70% of the things I deleted just saved for whatever reason. But
How dare you?
Anyways. Yeah.
Well, speaking of blaming people for things, we have some books that we might be blaming some stuff on this week. And the titles we're going to talk about are X-Men United #2. Are we still calling that a flagship book? Is it still flagship?
It is until it gets canceled. But that might be very soon.
Then we have Inglorious X-Force #4. We also have Magik Colossus #3. And then we'll finish off with Little Imperial Guardians #2. Little tiny bit of news. Last week we told you that an X-Office crossover event was coming this fall, and that it's going to be called DNX with the tagline, Evolution is Contagious. Naturally, more information about that event dropped right after we were done recording, like minutes later. The major new thing we learned is that this is going to be a crossover between the X-Books and the Fantastic Four. I guess that's the last Marvel team that has not yet had an X crossover. Right? You got the Inhumans, you got the Eternals, you got the Avengers. They've all had their X books, and now it's the FF.
There's been a crossover already. In the Krakoa era, there was a miniseries where they were
the Franklin thing a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like this is not totally unique, but it's less common than some of the other teams crossing over. The thing that I sort of laughed, I would say, there has been. Yeah, I think they've met every team. But what I was going to say is I kind of thought it was hilarious that neither of us came up with DNA as the acronym that DNX is clearly referring to. It's sort of obvious that is what the acronym was, and I don't know why it didn't even cross my mind that that's what it could be.
Yep. Well, I guess we should have figured that out. I think, what was I thinking? I was thinking either BMX, like bike motocross, or DNR, do not resuscitate. But
DNR DNA, is what came to my mind. But
DNA, but with an X, which doesn't really make sense because DNA is like deoxyribonucleic acid. So a DNX would be deoxy. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Ended with a zacid, whatever.
Xavier.
Xavier. Oh, no. Maybe that's how they bring him back. They also did confirm that this is going to be about 3K and Chairman Beast releasing a virus that transforms humans into mutants.
That part I called, so I feel proud of that.
We kind of knew that was going to happen. So it really is just a continuation of the Age of Revelation storyline, which probably explains why Jed MacKay abandoned that storyline so quickly. The other bit of news is that Marvel did confirm that the inciting incident for this whole event is going to be 3K and Chairman Beast releasing a virus to transform humans into mutants, which I think we both figured was going to be what's going to happen, right?
Yeah,
DNA,
that was a big
evolution.
I mean, that's a big story beat that needs to get resolved, right? I thought it was going to get resolved in the regular storyline, but apparently MacKay feels like that's I kind of wonder, does this mean like maybe his time on X-Men is wrapping up? Because it feels like it's sort of the end of something big, right? And they're turning it into an event.
Well, it could be, because Marvel always takes what seems like a big ending and says, well, actually, we're just going to go into the next one. So it could be either way. But yeah, I was complaining in adjective list, like, why did we drop this Dougie storyline? Why did we drop the 3K storyline so quickly? And I guess this is why, because they wanted to save it for this fall event.
Yeah.
Do you know, have you been reading Fantastic Four at all? Have you been keeping up with that title?
No, there's something about that team that doesn't appeal to me so much, so I'm not reading it.
I had read the first few of the Ryan North issues because they started off being kind of one-shotty, science, mystery, kind of snappy stories, and they were all right, but I just fell off it for some reason. And I haven't seen Ryan North's name attached to this DNX event. You know, usually you'd say, oh, it's going to be Jed MacKay and Ryan North if they're the big writers, but I've only seen Jed MacKay's name attached to it. So I'm curious if it's going to be crossing over that way or not. Well, the next time we find out some information about this will be on, what do we call this day? We're calling it Comics Giveaway Day now because Diamond crapped the bed. So on Comics Giveaway Day on May 2nd, the Marvel Avengers and X-Men book is going to have some new information about this event. And that's only like 2.5 weeks from now. So we'll be learning about this more pretty darn soon. Okay, we ready to go on to the actual books from this week?
Yeah, unless my building is still burning down.
Well, good luck. I'm sure. Right now, I'm picturing you as that dog drinking coffee and saying, this is fine.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So if you could actually, if you have to run off, you run off. But until then, we will press forward. Our first book is, and boy, this is really worth staying in a burning building over. It's speaking of burning buildings, X-Men United #2, Open Wounds, written by Eve L. Ewing, art by Tiago Palma, colors by Brian Raber, and letters by Joe Sabino. So this is the book set in the psychic mind palace school of Grey Malkin Lane. Wait, it was Grey Matter Lane. That's what we're calling it, right? Grey Matter,
yes.
And only 2 issues in, Ruben, it's not looking good. So much of last issue turns out to not matter. The fires. Speaking of fires, doesn't matter. The new French teen mutant character introduced last issue. Remember her?
Yes.
She doesn't even appear in this book. She's not here in this issue at all. She seems to be, she's going to be the new. No, she's not the new thing at all. Most of this huge class we get on the Dramatis Personae type page, most of them are either not in the book at all or just background characters.
Yes.
So 3 things happen in this issue.
First, I also want to say, let's talk about what we were promised and what we're given, right? Like they had added extra people, right? Like we even had Gabby and Laura both being combat teachers, right?
Right.
And we were like, why do you need 2 Wolverines? Well, Gabby's gone now. So I feel like Evel Ewing had some grand story, and then some editor was like, you can't actually just take all the X characters. Let's reduce this cast significantly.
Maybe you just wanted to look really huge at the beginning, but you can't really tell a story with that many characters.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you're writing a giant Russian novel type of a thing where you can come in, 500 page later and have another character do a thing. But we got 20 pages a month, and there's only so much page space you could have. So I think it was inevitable that Eve Ewing was going to concentrate on the cast of Exceptional X-Men.
Yeah,
right?
I'm going to predict that this is going to get shorter and shorter as the time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I expect Cyclops is going to fall off. I don't think we're going to see Beast, Magik, Rogue, and Gambit. I mean, I think this real cast is really Emma, Kitty, Prodigy, the Exceptional team, and I guess maybe Laura Kitty Wolverine will probably still be around.
Yeah, probably. We get some guest stars popping in here and there. I mean, Magneto can have a scene, but like in places, it even tries to set up in this book some friction within the Adjectiveless team between Cyclops and Ben Liu, right? But is that going to show back up in Adjectiveless?
No, I don't believe it.
We have not yet seen any other book even mention that this place exists, right? And I know it's only 2 issues in, but if this is really going to be taken seriously as one of the main flagship books of the X line, other people need to acknowledge its existence somehow.
This is probably, I think they will be mentioned at some point, but we're probably dealing with the nature of the way comics are written, where I assume they're written a little bit ahead of time. So probably regular X-Men, the script was all finalized, and then this came out, and then, maybe like 3.
Uh-oh, Ruben, I just muted you. Sorry about that.
My point was so good, too.
I was trying to mute myself so I could blow my dang nose, and I misclicked. I'm sorry, Jim. You're going to have to edit that. It's my fault.
Yeah, this is going to be the most high-quality recording ever. But, yeah, I'm going to go back. I have no idea where it got muted, but I was
2 seconds.
Yeah, I was basically speculating that probably the stuff we're reading in X-Men was written at a time when McKay was not aware of this book being publicized. And so I would say probably like 2 or 3 issues from now, there will be a chance for, both of these to be out in the wild and for other people to start mentioning it.
But you'd think that it shouldn't be a surprise to Jed McKay that he goes to his local comic shop and, there's a new flagship book out this month, right? You'd think that as it was being written, you would hope that there would be some internal discussion so everyone would be ready to deal with it. But I don't know how those things work.
I'm curious. I would be curious to hear about that, but I kind of have a feeling that they don't tell everybody. I mean, maybe in the Slack, somebody's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to start writing this."
Back in the early Krakoa days, there were always people, editors and writers would talk about, the X Slack was this constant thing that people were always talking in and theoretically, coordinating in, but have not heard about that under the new leadership.
Yeah, I just wonder if you get your new comic deal, and then do they send out an email to everybody that's currently writing and say like, FYI, this other person just started a new title and it's going to cover these characters.
By the way,
I kind of feel like they don't.
We just created 7 more characters and killed off 13 of the ones you were using, just so you know.
Yeah.
Well, back to this particular issue. 3 things actually happen in this issue. First, we're going to resolve that fire situation from last issue's cliffhanger. Then we have a faculty meeting to discuss whether or not to team up on a mission with Captain America. And finally, we go off on that mission with Captain America. We get ourselves a cliffhanger. So first, let's resolve that fire. Ruben, there was no fire. The upshot is, yes, this was ultimately Scott's doing, but it's just a fake, which is hard for me to understand because the entire school itself is a psychic projection.
Yes.
So Scott convinced Quentin that in order to show how much of a bigger psychic badass he was than Emma, Quentin should have a psychic projection of a fire on the psychic projection of a school, but it's not a real psychic projection. It's like a psychic projection of a it's all psychic projection. So how is it either real or not real? None of it's real.
Yeah.
So confusing. We still don't really know what this place is.
Yes. And apparently this is just a chance for Emma to say like, no, this is a totally safe space, because as soon as Quentin showed up to try to do his psychic projection, the school's charms triggered and he was stopped, right? Because when the projection drops, you see a gagged and tied up Quentin.
Mm-hmm.
But then that makes me wonder, like, obviously to Ben Liu, the psychic projection didn't did like it was stopped, but it wasn't stopped. Like he saw it. So I'm kind of wondering what's going on. Does this mean that like the fire that we're seeing is actually Emma? Like she allowed it to go through, and
Right,
she's the one tormenting Ben Liu.
it's so confusing. Also, 99% of the students and faculty are not even there. They're off on the other side of campus, literally having submarine sandwiches and mixing lemonade with iced tea.
Yes.
I'm not making that up. That's what they're doing. The only single character who's actually fooled by this and is terrorized and is peeing his pants is Ben Liu. The only one, with Scott's own teammate.
Yes.
Very, very strange. So yeah, this is all a moment for Emma to be super strong, and I knew everything that's going on, and I beat you, Scott, and I beat you, Quentin, and I'm in charge of everything. So what was Scott's end game here, right? Because if this was always a fake fire, so he's rushing in pretending like he's trying to save people from the fire.
Yeah.
What was his end game? What did he think he was going to accomplish? Was the fake fire actually going to fake burn down the fake school? Or was he then going to say, aha, look, anybody could have done this? When's the big reveal? It's like Seinfeld, where George does the thing where they're all Twix. What were you trying to accomplish? What did you think was going to happen here?
I think he thought everybody was going to run out in terror, and then he was going to say, aha, this is what I said. Point. If you all get together, you're all a threat, or you're all at risk of being taken out in one fell swoop, and you're lucky that this wasn't actually a real fire.
He was going to reveal it was him and Quentin?
I mean, I assume so.
I guess. E-Viewing is not writing Scott as very smart.
Yeah.
Right? He's here as a foil to make Emma look smart, but Scott shouldn't be treated like a chump like that. I don't think it's really in character. He's the planner. He's the master strategist. This was not the work of a master strategist.
No, it wasn't. Also, another thing to be critical of, Kid Omega is supposed to have stronger psychic powers than, or at least he has no limit, right, compared to Emma. But every time we see him, every single time, he's like the chump to like somebody. And I know
there was that one silent issue with him and Psylocke, and he was shown to be pretty strong then. That was a cool Quentin issue. But yeah, he's usually used as the punk who gets slapped down. I
and
agree
you could say experience. You could say, oh well, he just gets beaten because he doesn't have as much experience. But he's been around for a long time. At this point, he's been in comics for like 30 years, and I'm kind of sick and tired of him being told as like he's an Omega, and yet he's always second fiddle to Jean and Emma and
agreed.
Pretty much anyone else.
Okay, time for our next scene, which is a faculty meeting. Oh boy. There's some very boring chit-chat between Kitty and Prodigy, and then, thankfully, Captain America shows up. He wants to recruit people from this school. I can't really call them a team. They're not a team. He wants to recruit help from this school, a fake school that was just started. He wants people from here to help him track down the source of an anonymous note he just received, a note that was sent by Emma Frost.
Well, can we pause before we even get there?
Sure.
So now we get, in this faculty meeting, we get an Iceman who's just a total asshole.
Yes.
Like, he doesn't accomplish anything in this entire issue other than just character assassination because he's a dick. Like, his only point to be here is to throw shade and call people, be like, oh, that's so precious that you thought this or that.
Yeah, he kind of starts playing, going after Captain America of all people.
Yes.
Like throwing around old-timey slang because, Cap was around before World War II, so we're going to talk about like Betty Grable and use the word moxie and peepers and weird, very strange choice.
Yeah.
So
I also want to say Prodigy is a character that he has a really cool power set, but he's quickly becoming one of my least favorite X characters because he always feels like an old preachy jerk.
That's the way he's being used. I don't really know I haven't read a lot of his earlier appearances, so I've only seen him in the modern, smug jackhole kind of a setting, but maybe he was better earlier on. So what happened was Emma sent an obituary to Captain America, an obituary of a World War II veteran named Francis McLean. And an editor's note connects this guy with a 2003 Marvel miniseries called Truth, Red, White, and Black. So
I'm going to ask you another question.
Please, go ahead.
Kind of unnecessary. So she sent him the obituary in the real world, right?
Yes.
And
in the 616 real world, yes.
Okay, and now he's in the psychic space, and he has it with him.
Right.
I still don't understand how this damn thing works. Like,
I
You
do
can
believe
bring
they're
your
there
real stuff.
physically. I do believe your physical body goes into this space.
Okay.
Now, why he would get this obituary and say, I need to go to this new mutant school I just heard of, and that's where I'm going to get my help. I'm not going to go to the Avengers. I'm not going to, call up my buddy Iron Man. I'm not going to talk to anybody else. I'm not going to go to S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm going to go to Emma Frost and this new school called Gray Matter Lane for those weird-ass mutants.
Yes.
So I don't know how this plan works, but he did it. This miniseries, Truth, Red, White, and Black, I haven't read it, but I looked into it. And what it does, it basically takes the actual real-world historic fact of the Tuskegee syphilis experiments and puts that into the American super soldier serum situation. So it says that before Captain America, before Steve Rogers got that serum that worked, it was tested on a bunch of black Americans, and bad things happened to them. So one of these guys was this Francis McLean, whose obituary just showed up at Cap's door. So he now says this kind of, he's always felt guilty about this apparently, and now he wants to use the school's empathy engine. I don't know how he knows about that. That's publicly known that we're using Mr. Sinister Tech to run this school. Seems like a bad idea.
There's a press release.
Right.
We're starting a school. We're using Mr. Sinister Tech. It's called the Empathy Engine, and it allows us to find mutants.
Even if they use the name of the company, what was the company's name before? Because it wasn't called like Mr. Sinister Incorporated. It was some other weird name.
I don't know.
Even so, having that be public is a strange call. Cap says, I can use this tech to locate remaining survivors from these experiments. Timeline-wise, I know we've got a sliding timeline here, but World War II is World War II. And if these people, right, Captain America is very, very strictly tied to that time period.
Yeah.
So if the super soldier serum was tested on people before World War II, I don't know, say 1930s, there's not going to be many people alive anymore. That's just, a sad fact that time is moving on. So I guess you could argue that maybe some of them got longevity from the super soldier serum.
Perhaps, yeah.
But that should be stated in the comic book if that's how we're playing it, I think.
Yeah.
But they just gloss over that. So Cap wants to team up and use his empathy engine. He leaves the room so that the faculty can vote on whether or not to do this. I'm not clear on why these 4 people get to be the ones who vote. Emma and Kitty and Iceman and Prodigy. Are they like the core management or deans of this school?
It seems to be the case that they are the leadership.
Emma and Kitty, for sure, I can see that. But Iceman, again, he's only hanging around being a jackass.
He's only there to throw shade. I don't even think he's teaching a class. But, Prodigy's a professor. He's been a professor, right? So maybe he makes sense.
But there's lots of professors, right?
I wonder if Laura Kinney realizes that she's not a voting member of the faculty.
So, plus there's only 4 of them, so to have a vote with 4 people is always going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So Emma votes yes, naturally. It was her plan all along to do this. Mm-hmm. Prodigy votes yes. By the way, Emma's idea here is that they want to have, it's not an awful concept, that she wants the school and mutants to have allies in the real world, so she's trying to forge ties between the school and, for instance, Captain America, which is a perfectly reasonable concept. I like that. I just don't think her plan makes any sense.
Yeah, I like the idea of them building allies. It's sort of we've learned from what didn't work in Krakoa, where we were just like, screw everyone, we going to go it alone. This time they're like, maybe that wasn't the best strategy. We need to have
Magneto's line, you have new gods now. Oops, never mind that. Let's all be pals. Let's be friends.
That part was okay. Yeah.
Conceptually makes perfect sense. So Emma votes
Iceman really is just the guy that throws shade, though, right? Because even here he talks about like, this isn't really about that. It's about making money, isn't it, Emma? It's like, okay, zing, Iceman, you've thrown shade at literally everybody.
So again, I'm gonna get through this vote here. Emma votes yes. Prodigy votes yes. Iceman votes no because he hates everybody. Kitty goes off and talks to Magneto for a while, and Magneto does not get a vote, but they get to chat for a little bit. And then Kitty votes abstain. I don't understand what this conversation with Magneto was supposed to have taught her that she should say, my vote is I'm not actually going to vote. it feels like this should be a big reveal. Oh, she votes this weird thing. But why is she voting to abstain? I do not understand. Either vote yes or vote no. Get off the pot, right? What am I missing from this big moment?
This was just, I don't know. Eval Ewing thought that it was a great scene to show that Magneto is still believing that the world is irredeemable. I mean, he gets the soapbox about how I think Kate is like, shouldn't we do this to help those people heal from the terrible thing that happened to them? And then Magneto says, you can't heal. The world has proven that. It's just a litany of open wounds. I think it's just a zing moment. But why she abstains? I don't know.
I don't get that either. But
it gives us a chance for Iceman to throw shade at her.
It does mean that the resolution passes 2-1 to 1 abstain. Yes. So they are gonna work with Cap. Resolution passed. So they put together the most random ass team to accompany Cap. Got Laura Kinney. Okay, that's fine. She makes sense. I guess. Although it doesn't really make sense because Laura Kinney would make a lot of sense if we need to go and kick some ass here. But the mission is, let's go meet some old black people. Right? That is the mission. So why do you need a Wolverine for that?
Well, they claim that she's an expert in science programs that are designed to... I guess she has like weapons program experience, right? Maybe it's like, it's the same thing as this government Captain America program.
I don't know what she's supposed to do to help here.
She's got the empathy. She's the product of cloning, right? So somehow that's the same as being the product of being given syphilis.
She's just like me, FR. So the other people on the team make even less sense. We've got Melee and we've got Jitter. We get a quick little addendum to Melee's backstory. Now we're told, and I don't think we knew this before, we're told the Bureau of Indian Affairs moved her family to Chicago in the 1950s and treated them pretty badly. So like she has some background being mistreated by the U.S. government like these other people. Did we know that she had Native American heritage? Because her name is Vietnamese. We knew the Vietnamese
Yeah, I thought
part.
She was Vietnamese, so I was like, is that a mistake? Is that a change of her background? Or is that like, she's, multiracial?
Because her name, I usually call her Melee because I feel uncomfortable. I know I'm mispronouncing the name.
Thou.
It's like, is it Thao or Tao?
Yeah.
Thao.
Yeah.
I never know how to pronounce the TH. Thao. Tron?
That's my wife. She said it's Thao. Yeah.
Cool. Thao, is it like a Tron or a Tran? It's Tran.
Mm-hmm.
So but that's her name, which is a Vietnamese name. So now we're told she also has Native American heritage. Sure. Jitter, I don't even know why Jitter is here. She's a teenager from Uncanny, and she can make a really good cheese souffle in one
May I
minute.
have your attention, please?
Uh-oh.
May I have your attention, please?
Here we go
New
again.
announcement.
Fire alarm in the building has been cleared.
Okay.
Panels restored. The elevators are back in operation. You may return to your floor.
Okay. Thrilling cinema here.
Audio. Theater of the mind.
Theater of the mind, yes.
It's just like it was not a real fire. It was a psychic projection of a fire, and Emma Frost has now put duct tape over the mouth of Quentin Quire. Yeah. You don't have to evacuate. You can keep eating your submarine sandwiches and drinking your Arnold Palmers.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the actual book.
Jitter makes no sense, but the line is hilarious too, because I think this is such a trash story where they're like, let's get Jitter in there. Nice wild card for the unexpected, and could use some practice. So they don't even know why. They're just like, I don't know why the fuck you put her on the team, but she's a wild card. It's like, okay, great.
She certainly is.
I mean, she's the coolest of the Outliers, so I would put her on.
I guess you don't want to put Death Dream on the team. That would be kind of strange. Or Calico, blonde white girl riding around on a flaming horse. That's not really what you want to present.
Yeah, okay, Death Dream could bring his allies back to life, right? Like, let's go see what your dead.
That would be uncomfortable.
Compatriots are there.
Yeah. So this is how it's supposed to work. Axo, he's the one who uses the Verite empathy engine stuff. Verite, that's the name of the company. Okay. He's going to use the empathy engine, and it's going to look into the minds of all surviving World War II veterans.
Yeah.
Without their consent. They haven't signed off on anything. But he's going to go into all their minds, and then combining all their memories, even with all different gaps and misremembrances, we're told he's going to allow the machine to create a, quote, psychosomatic composite of the world by piecing together a pastiche of their memories. In other words, yo dog, I heard you like psychic constructs, so I put a psychic construct in your psychic construct.
This is 3 layers deep, right? Because this is like also a psychic construct, the little
I
base
guess
within the base. Because we were told, remember last issue, and I raged against this idea of like it's not in the base, which it could have just been part of the base, but they were like, oh, you got to take this extra door to get to this location.
Because now, what's his name? The portal guy, Reggie. He uses the information from this psychic construct to figure out where the actual people are that they want to talk to, and he sends them through a portal. Does this portal go out into the real world, or does this portal go into the construct? Does it go into the simulation of the real world?
Yeah.
Which seems important because they start bouncing around in time at some point.
Yeah.
But if they sent them to an actual real place in the real world, they should just be at that place in the real world.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they got good or bad information, but if they send you to, 4242 Mockingbird Lane in Philadelphia, that's where you are. Whether or not it's the right place, that's where you are.
All we know about Rift is that his powers always fucking send you into like the past. They don't work very well.
I still like my idea that these are all just pocket universe, holograph simulations. But so they're going to try to make contact with this guy named Maurice Canfield, who was a character in that Truth Red, White, and Black miniseries. And he died in that miniseries. Cap says, oh, yeah, I heard that guy died, but I guess he's still alive. Maybe that was a mistake.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a retcon or what. So Rift sends the team into either real-world Philadelphia or the second-level construct of Philadelphia. They wind up in a decrepit old house. They meet a very young version of Canfield, who then turns into a very old version of Canfield. The team splits up, starts bouncing around in time, always arriving at moments when the radio was saying a very specific historic event is happening. What a coincidence. Back at the school, Beast talks some pseudo-scientific mumbo-jumbo about, oh yeah, this is about what we should have predicted. And then the final cliffhanger panel, Canfield, the older version of Canfield, manifests some type of power and tells Captain America it's time to go the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And that's where the book ends. And I don't know if these kids, I don't know why they'd be bouncing around in time if they were sent to Philadelphia. They're not going through more portals. If they're inside a simulation, then sure, simulations can hallucinate. We've certainly seen that with our own AI stuff. But then it's just a simulation and nothing's really happening and they're not really talking to this Canfield guy. So I do not understand what's going on in this book at all. So
that's what you want out of a comic book?
It's issue 2, Ruben. It's only issue 2. It doesn't particularly connect in a lot of ways from the first issue. There's some potentially interesting ideas here, right? Yeah. I can see, the super serum stuff is kind of interesting. A psychic school could be interesting. Seems kind of early to have Captain America show up for an adventure, but that's not an awful idea in itself. But just nothing connects to anything and nothing is explained enough to make me feel like, okay, I know what's going on here. Tell me a story.
I think that they're in a construct. I don't think they're in the real world, in Lost in Time and Space.
Because so this is not the real Maurice Canfield.
I don't think so. I think it's a psychic projection of Maurice Canfield, which I would say is like, if the whole point is Captain America is out to make amends with people, then he's just making amends with psychic projections of people, which is not really actually
it's like
making
I go
amends
to
with
Chat
anyone.
GPT and say, pretend to be the ex-girlfriend I cheated on. I'm sorry.
I want to apologize to her, yes.
There.
It's all
done and
good.
dusted. I feel weight off my chest. My goodness. I could really move on with my life now.
Yes. That's hilarious.
So that's where we are. I don't know where we are, if we're in a simulation or not. The book looks cool enough. The art is nice. The artist here, Tiago Palma, has to draw a whole lot of characters. We're bringing in Cap now. We're bringing in characters from miniseries from 20 years ago. We've got characters from every other book. They all look great. I think the art is clearly the best part of this book. Everything looks pretty cool, but the story just does not live up to the art. And I'm giving this an I'm confused 5 out of 10.
Yeah. I want to give it a 4. I don't think it's very good. I couldn't even tell you what that cliffhanger page is. Are those? I mean, the art's okay, but does he have rock power? that what's jetting out of his neck? Is it scales? Is it just the wind
It's like
blowing?
his collar is standing up really stiff, like he's wearing an old, like a Victorian painting where they had those giant, not even Victorian, like Elizabethan, I guess, like Queen Elizabeth, giant ruffles around his neck.
I want to say that the other best part about this is, so he's like, this is him as an old man, right? And you see he's got some kind of like skeletal problem because his like neck is way down and his shoulders are way up.
Kind of hunched over,
Yes.
I don't know if it's a skeletal problem or he's trying to look intimidating. One or the other.
I think it's a skeletal problem because then in the final scene we see now his neck is like straight, so that's part of his transformation. Like his neck slides up and he can finally stand up straight.
He has the power to temporarily overcome osteoporosis.
Exactly.
For 1 minute, just like Jitter.
Yes.
Okay, so little news about this title, X-Men United. Issue 5 has just been teased and had not a full solicit given out, but I don't know if maybe this book isn't selling and they're trying to get people excited enough to hang on. They're telling us it will feature Lord Chantal being resurrected yet again. Now, Ruben, we talked about this a little bit in the Slack. Remind people who Lord Chantal is.
Yeah, this is such a deep-cut character that suddenly people are caring about. But basically, she was the roughly the fiance of Sebastian Shaw before he was the big deal within Hellfire. So he had met her, and I guess she's like a Spaniard, and they had really hit it off, and he wasn't totally corrupted by money and power.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got involved in the Hellfire Club, and she was trying to get him to get out, saying, like, this is just a bad organization. And at this point, Sebastian Shaw was like a bishop, like the Black Bishop within Hellfire.
Right. And this is not Hellfire like on Krakoa. This is way pre-Krakoa when it was just this, rich weirdos dressing up in a sex club, basically.
Yes, exactly. And so one of the guys, they're all backstabbing at this time, right? One of the Hellfire guys in a more senior position thought that this Sebastian Shaw was bad, and I hate mutants, so I'm gonna kill two birds with one stone. I'm gonna, get a Sentinel to show up and attack the Hellfire Club at one of their events. I think it was like an early Hellfire Gala event, and so they're there, and the Sentinel busts in, and this guy thinks it's gonna lock on to Sebastian and kill Sebastian, but it realizes that Chantal is also a mutant, and so it locks on to her and kills her. And that story, which we were never told in the original X-Men storyline, was like part of X-Men Classics. It was like a backup story, which was like a reprint storyline, it was weird. It was like
it was reprints, but then they'd have a backup story
that was original.
Original, but set like filling in a gap sometime in the older timeline.
Yeah.
So it happened a long time ago, and then we were told that Lord Chantal died at this Hellfire Gala, and then she wasn't seen for decades. Yeah.
And then during the Krakoa era in the Marauders run, they retconned this idea of the Sentinels like showing up and killing this character that had never been featured in anything other than that backup issue.
Right.
And they said that, she wasn't actually killed. What happened was when she was in a relationship with Sebastian and trying to get him to leave Hellfire and he was refusing, she decided, well, this relationship is not going to work out and I need to get out of here. But Sebastian's not going to let me leave this relationship and this organization, so I need to fake my own death. And she,
as one does, right?
Yeah, and so she buddied up with Emma Frost. Yeah,
it was just a shenanigan. She wasn't killed. It was just she pretended to be killed so that she could sneak off.
Yeah, and then Emma somehow finagled things with Kingpin. So Kingpin took her on and gave her like a new identity, and so she worked for Kingpin for a while. She's like a teleporter. So in that Krakoa era storyline, it's revealed that she was never dead, and then Sebastian, now he's in charge of Hellfire, and his former fiance he's learned that she's alive, and he wants her back in his life, but she's not. And this was during that time that Sebastian and Emma were like really doing a power struggle over control of Hellfire, and she seemed to have moved on with her life and not been interested in Sebastian anymore, and kind of helped Emma depose.
Mm-hmm. But she does show, she shows up back up on Krakoa. And how do things work out for her?
Yeah, so I think in the final Hellfire Gala, she was where Orcus has their like Alpha Strike, and Nimrod shows up and killed all the new X-Men. I think she got zapped in that.
Yep.
Like she sort of helps some people escape, but then she gets blasted as she's like fleeing, and she's dead.
Right, or like she wore herself out by overusing her mutant power, I think was the deal. Like heroic death, but in a way, she has set the record for most deaths at a Hellfire Gala.
Yes.
By dying twice, kind of, at the Hellfire Gala.
Yeah. And I looked in the wiki, and it claims that in X-Men Forever, sort of the post-Orcus attack, like, wrap-up storyline, that supposedly she was one of the people that was brought back by the Five before they disappeared into...
Maybe in the like as a background somewhere. We had some big crowd scenes where you could see a bunch of people brought back, but she was seen there?
Yeah, I didn't even register that she came back. But
neither did I. I thought she was still dead.
Yeah, the wiki claims that she was one of the people that was brought back, and we just haven't dealt with her since then.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe I'll try to track down what panel that was in. So she's going to be back. I don't know why. We haven't really had a lot of... Where is Sebastian Shaw these days? When's the last time we touched base with him? Because she really kind of only mostly makes sense if there's going to be a Sebastian story.
That's the only time I can remember is in Sentinels. He was like Berserker Rage, and they took him into Grey Malkin prison.
Oh, yeah. Maybe he's
so I think he's still sitting his ass in Grey Malkin prison. But
okay, interesting. That could be fun.
Yeah.
Another thing teased for that issue, because just Lord Chantal isn't enough, we're also going to get Justina LaGuardia. Cricket. Okay.
Yeah, that one I don't know.
I don't have that sound effect. I had to do it manually. Cricket.
So, Justine.
Remember in the Giant Size X-Men Kamala Khan book, there would be these backups, and the backups would introduce kind of new characters sometimes.
Okay.
She was in the backup to Giant Size X-Men #1, and she was the one shown in Paris to have, I think it was Paris, she had the mutant power to mimic and surpass the mutant ability, any kind of ability of anyone around her.
This was the one I actually liked. So this was the character I thought was like pretty badass.
She was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So like Charles Xavier tried to recruit her, she immediately became an even better psychic than him.
Yes.
Erased all memory of herself from his mind and sent him on his way.
Okay.
So she's
coming back in what?
Issue 5 of United.
Oh God. That character was way too cool to like show up in this trash. I don't want Evil Ewing to deal with it.
Character showing up, and I think this is all issue 5. I think they really want people to buy this damn book.
Yeah.
Also, a villain who makes a whole bunch of sense for a place like this. The Shadow King is on the cover.
Okay.
Right. So psychic projection stuff. Shadow King.
100%.
I forget what his actual name. Amal Farouk, I believe, is his name.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. I'm hoping that he kind of knocks Emma down a peg or two, because she's just being too much of an easy winner all the time. She's kind of boring. She thinks this place is completely safe. Maybe not if the Shadow King is here.
I think their base might be safe, but that location where what's it called? The room that they use to search for things.
Oh, where Rift does his rifting from? I forget the name of that.
Because they made a big deal in that issue 1 about that location being in
where the empathy engine is.
Yeah. They were like, oh, this is floating in the astral plane. I was like, okay, whatever. So maybe this will be like the Shadow King invades that location, but he can't get into the school proper.
Could be. We'll find out in a few months. I think we've spent enough time talking about X-Men United. Now we're going to move on to a book that we've mostly liked better than that. And this is Inglorious X-Force #4, Death War, Part 1.
Yeah.
Written by Tim Seeley, art by Philip Tan, which is a change because the first 3 issues were drawn by Michael Santamaria, or as Jim calls him, Michael Stamaria. And this is the thing I always hate. I know it takes a long time to draw these books. I know, physically it's difficult, but I was really enjoying the Michael Santamaria art. And this is such a huge change in the middle of the first arc of the damn book.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it looks so great.
I was trying to settle into what this book is like and what it looks like and how the art should be just as big a part of the identity of the book as the writing. But in issue 4, it looks entirely different. Colors are still by Romulo Fajardo Jr. Letters are still by Joe Caramagna. So now that I've kind of bitched and moaned about the art, Ruben, you tell us what we need to know about Inglorious X-Force #4.
Yeah, let me check my notes here.
Oh, wow. Yes. Extensive notes.
That's for you, Matt. I do that because Jim is leaning into me being very loud, having a lot of background noise.
I did hear him do the water bottle crinkle. I think that's what he was getting at. Okay, so tell us now, we've gotten the intellectual humor out of the way. What's up in Inglorious X-Force?
Yeah, so I want to quickly go back to issue 3 and talk about the cliffhanger, because that sets the stage of the first half of this issue. So at the end of that issue, we saw Tabitha Boom Boom get up from Akihiro's bed and kind of wander aimlessly through the Adirondack space of X-Force looking for Cable. And it looked like she was saying she wanted to apologize to him for having kind of run off half-cooked in the location where all the Tabitha clones were and kind of kill some things. She wasn't, very professional, and I guess she needed to get good with Cable. So she stumbled into the monitor room where he was sitting there shirtless, and he looks passed out, watching too much TV, I guess. And
also, he's got a hole in his chest.
Yeah, and he has like kind of a hole in his chest, and then Domino's there, and she's like, WTF. Oh, I guess she walks past the squirrel as well, and then she sees Domino, and she's like, what the hell's going on here? And
the squirrel is going to be the key to this whole thing, isn't it?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
I don't know if Squirrel Girl is going to show up. Maybe that will be the big twist.
Yeah.
Is that Doreen Green is going to save the day.
There's too many squirrels for there not to be Squirrel Girl involved in this story somehow. But in any event, Tabitha walks in, sees Domino. I guess she thinks Domino shot Cable. Domino starts stammering, saying, hey, this isn't what you thought it was or what you think it is. And we see Boom Boom not listening because she's kind of on edge, or just that's her personality. She doesn't think things through, and she creates one for bombs. And the final panel that we see is just a big boom. And we don't exactly know what happened.
Zoom way out. All we see is that a big chunk of the mountain just went boom.
Yeah. So then in issue number 4, it starts out with Miss Marvel, Akihiro, Warren Worthington, and Tabitha all recounting from their perspective what they think happened.
And it's really told like it's a mystery. Like a detective is saying, well, what did you see? What did you see? What do you think happened?
Yeah.
And what's really weird is that no one remembers seeing Domino.
Correct.
Like Cable, we never saw Cable talking to Domino directly because he was passed out when we saw her.
Yes.
But we did see Boom Boom interacting directly with Domino.
Yeah.
She does not remember that at all. At least she doesn't bring it up. If she remembers it, she's keeping it to herself.
No. And so I'm going to try to reconstruct what happens, but the way it's presented in the comic is, here's my perspective, here's your perspective. I guess they've all kind of...
What's that Japanese movie, Rashomon, where everybody sees it from a different perspective, and what really happened, who the hell knows?
Yeah. And they seem to be all gathered together, kind of team meeting style, like, let's share what we each know and try to figure out what the real story was. So from Ms. Marvel's perspective, she was kind of like passed out. I guess she was tired from that mission, and she stayed to watch some late night TV.
That was kind of funny. She's watching crappy reality TV. Although you wonder, are her parents okay with her just not coming home for the night and her being at X-Force headquarters? I never remember what the status is of whether they know she's Ms. Marvel or not, because I think it's changed back and forth a few times.
I think they do know, but I also think that maybe she's in college these days, so maybe she's not at their house all the time. So
Sure.
Yeah. Anyways, I agree. It's kind of unclear like what the current status is, but
you don't think they have location sharing turned on so they can see where she is at all times? No.
Yeah. I don't know if she even got she was in that school in NYX, right? She was in some New York school, but then
she was attending that same school that we saw her in that summer program in the previous Ms. Marvel miniseries.
Yeah. I don't know if after they blew up that college, she continued staying in that college.
I think so. But she was there, and that other, her male friend who's so great at technology was also there.
Yeah.
Right, because she was still there in Giant Size X-Men. No, that was a different school. Was it?
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm not even sure anymore. It could be the same school.
I thought he was a professor there, but maybe he lost
She was definitely going to college and living in a dorm, because we talked about how her roommate was like the most chill, easygoing roommate of all times, because this roommate kept having Bruno hang out at all hours from day one, etc. Right, I remember that now. So she definitely goes to college. So her parents don't know where the hell she is, which makes me feel really nervous saying that now, because I don't know where the hell my daughters are either, and they go to college.
Yeah.
They better not be in the X-Force headquarters.
Yeah, so she saw Tabitha kind of sneaking around, I guess heading to the room where Cable was. And then she saw the big explosion, and she ran up. And what she saw was Tabitha as like a charred, cindered, near dead corpse, and she saw Warren Worthington there, and she saw Akihiro there. And from Akihiro's perspective, he basically tells everybody, oh, he was sleeping in his room alone, which is not true, right? He was hooking up with Boom Boom.
At the point when he woke up, he was alone. So technically, I guess is what he's playing here.
And then he ran from when he heard the explosion, and he arrived, and he also saw Warren Worthington there. And then Warren Worthington says, hey, I was on a date with Roxanne Danger, and I was on that date.
Maxine Danger.
Maxine Danger.
Max Danger.
Max Danger, yeah. Which, as an aside, like, you telling me that came out of Next Wave, it totally makes sense, because that was all about, like, sarcastic, 90s over the top.
Right. Complete lack of subtlety. They took all the subtlety out. That was not the point. So Max Danger was clearly her name.
So it's kind of hilarious that, like, that sarcastic sort of let's satire, the Marvel line with these ridiculous names
folded
is like
right back into the
folded right back in, is like with no sarcasm at all.
It's like missing the irony entirely.
Yes.
Those didn't even realize I was making fun of you. No, we're just going to go with it.
Yeah. So he had a dinner with her, because she was tied up in the weird Tabitha clone thing, or at least they thought she was.
Right.
And
that was all Next Wave stuff.
Yeah. So he was going to go on a date with her to kind of try to get some secrets out of her, I guess. And while he was on this date, it was very vapid and boring. And he started thinking about how Tabitha's pretty cool, because even though she was being treated as a weapon by the Next Wave program, she has overcome it and seems to be a well-adjusted person. And he starts thinking about how that's kind of like him, how he was a weapon, when he was turned into Archangel and had been
by
a horseman.
Yep.
Yeah, and he was still dealing with his shit, and he hasn't totally gotten over it. So maybe she can give him some pointers on that. So he returned to the base to look for Tabitha, and instead of finding Tabitha, he, I guess, showed up.
He sees the explosion as he's kind of coming in for a landing. So he sees it from above. He sees no details of that. He sees the explosion. He flies in and finds Boom Boom being a crispy critter.
Yeah, and we don't hear from Cable. Well, anyways, so Warren basically, what he sees, it like the explosion freaks him out, and that triggers the death seed in him, and it mutates him into like ultimate Archangel. And
right, he's very vague, and he doesn't even know what he said. He goes somewhere else. A different aspect of himself comes forward. It could be connected to that death seed, life seed.
Yeah.
At one point, he had blood that could heal people just from a secondary mutation.
Yeah.
But something weird happens, and somehow
he shows up and starts to regenerate. Yeah, Tabitha.
Right.
And so what seems to have happened is the Boom Boom bomb that she created like exploded either in her hand or like very close to her body. And we learned later from Domino, like her perspective is the last one revealed, that her luck power activated and a squirrel nest that was in the Adirondacks base broke just when Tabitha was about to throw the bomb at Domino. And so instead, the bomb blew up basically where Tabitha was instead of hitting Domino and killing her.
Yeah, the art here is rough. Because zooming in, I think that what happened was like Boom Boom was going to hit Domino with this Boom Boom. Yeah. And as she's throwing it, a squirrel's nest falls in front of her and kind of intercepts the throw.
Correct.
So it blows up right in front of her.
Yes.
Now,
and then the
why
force
exactly
of the explosion
Boom Boom would do this, we don't really know. We don't see the beginning of the interaction between Domino and Cable. We still don't know what she was saying or doing there. We don't know if she shot him in the chest or not. So Tim Seeley is revealing some things, but still hiding a lot of what in the hell is really happening here.
Yeah.
And so Domino is blown, again,
out
hard to follow
building.
the art.
Yeah,
out
she
of
gets
this cliff.
Blown out.
Like it's up in the mountains somewhere, so she falls down to the bottom. So it's like her luck powers saved her in the short term, but completely screwed things up in the longer term.
Possibly, yeah. And of course, she survives the fall and is like kind of just outside of the base in some shrubbage. And I think she wants to talk to the team, but since they don't know that she was involved, I'm just gonna say that Boom Boom was so horribly damaged that she doesn't remember this, like she is under concussion protocol, and she has some short-term memory loss.
Could be that whatever healing thing Warren did to her reset the last 5 minutes of her memory.
Yeah.
Sure.
And Warren never saw like Domino, and neither did Akihiro, and neither did Miss Marvel. Now, Cable, I'm just like,
we don't know.
What was going on with him? Did he, or maybe he did a psychic thing and like wiped her memory from Tabitha, right? It's
Again,
it's a
we did
mystery.
not see the beginning of the conversation between Domino and Cable, so we don't know what the hell happened there.
Yeah. And he's now awake. I'm like, did he get woken by the bomb? And like, what's up with the fact that he had the gunshot wound in his chest at the end of issue 3? But
was it whatever
not now.
healing aura that Warren put out kind of caught him
healed
too?
both of them. Yeah. It's an
I don't
interesting
know.
idea, but the team doesn't see it, right? Because now he's got his shirt on. So at some point he had time to put a shirt on. And so he might even still be injured, but nobody sees.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Nobody sees
Kamala
it.
Khan's present. She's still a kid. Got to put a shirt on.
So anyways, so the team is like, well, they start throwing accusations like, well, the only person that really doesn't have a good alibi is Warren, right? And Warren's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I'm a founding X-Men. Like, remember, I'm not going to be like a traitor. And I like this little bit. There's like some back and forth about, well, hey, like, were you fully aware when you were a horseman of the apocalypse? Like, I was like, that's a pretty good thing. And then Warren throws some shade back and saying, well, I'm not the only one that was like a product of apocalypse. You, Cable, also with your TK virus are like a product of apocalypse in some respect. And he's like, okay, you got me there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Akihiro kind of comes to the defense of Warren saying, hey, we can't, innocent until proven guilty. And let me instead use my infernal powers and see if I can detect what's going on. And I don't actually detect, evil Death Seed influence on Tabitha. I'm sensing this other thing.
It's an interesting play because the book's been setting up, at least in this at this issue, kind of a love triangle almost, or a rivalry between Warren and Akihiro for Tabitha.
Yeah.
So for Akihiro to say nice things about Archangel and saying, actually, you're not the bad guy here, is an interesting move.
Yeah.
And also, I was not very clear on what he's sensing on Tabitha. Like, is he sensing, this is, because if he's sensing anything, he should be sensing Domino. Because we know Domino was there. I guess if it's a Wolverine type of a sense, he would smell Domino. Laura would smell Domino. But he's more of a demonic sensor kind of guy. So I guess he's going a different direction. And he senses something that leads them back to Greenpoint, Florida.
Oh, Florida. Sorry. Yeah, Florida. Yeah,
Same
so they
thing.
show up. Double A Ron would probably not agree, but yeah, Minnesota's, I don't know.
The Gulf Coast of Minnesota, yes.
So they're in Greenpoint, Florida. Yes, they show up there, and they sort of split up a little bit to kind of explore, like, why the hell are we here, and like, what are we dealing with? And Akihiro walks in. Is it Akihiro and Tabitha?
Yes.
They walk in, and
because they have a little chat about he's trying to make their relationship a little more serious than just hooking up. But she's like, no, it was just some sweaty times at the sheets.
Yeah.
And then they're attacked by a robot.
Yeah. And they're attacked by a robot, and they quickly defeat this robot, but Akihiro makes a point that he has seen this technology before, and the last time he saw it, it was like defending a shield black site. And that reference was kind of above my head, and it received an entire editor's note, so I don't know why.
It doesn't seem to go anywhere either because it doesn't turn out to be a shield thing. So I'm not quite sure what that's about.
Yeah.
So then we go and we see Cable and Angel and Ms. Marvel. They're off somewhere else.
Yeah. And they're outside kind of looking around, and then they start getting attacked. And
I guess the art here is really confusing because Cable
the art fails
in something.
It looks like a puddle, and then it kind of looks like quicksand that he falls
but the next
into,
panel,
or something comes up over him.
Head?
Yeah.
I guess these are going to be the Nasty Boys, but I don't know the Nasty Boys enough, and the art doesn't show. Does this giant head lift Cable so high he's out of the panel? I don't see where he is. He disappears.
Yeah.
Or
I think it's engulfed. That's the only thing that made sense to me, is like the puddle. And again, I also don't know the Nasty Boys. I know of them, but I don't know their power sets and like what they do.
Right.
I think it's like a pile of oil that like forms around him, because then later he like uses his TK power to like push out of it. So I think he was like inside of I think it was trying to eat him, and then he like used his powers to push it away. The art does not
sell it very well, but I think narratively that makes sense as what happened, but the art does not really get that across.
Yeah. So they have a big fight, and they're actually struggling. I'm not going to go to the fist by fist analysis of this fight, but in any event, they seem to be kind of almost losing, and they kind of get pushed back into the house, and they meet up with Akihiro and Tabitha, and they're all kind of ready for the big showdown with the Nasty Boys as they come in, and they talk about how are these Nasty Boys so tough? They're like B or D list villains. Like we should be able to beat them pretty easily, but they seem to be better than they are normally. And then suddenly they just kind of like they're like, oh well, we were brought back in Krakoa era, and then they just kind of like dissolve into goo,
which is confusing because this book can't seem to decide whether or not the Nasty Boys were revived or not, because they were killed by the upstarts right before Krakoa happened.
Yeah,
like 3 issues before the end of the Maddie Rosenberg pre-Krakoa X-Men, they were killed off. But then we definitely saw at least some of them on Krakoa, so they were resurrected there. But now Boom Boom and people in this book act like, oh, they were never resurrected on Krakoa, so they can't really exist.
Yeah,
which is very, very confusing. It feels like a mistake.
Yeah, I'm not going to know everyone. There's people at my firm I wouldn't be able to tell you if they actually work here or not, as I just don't interact with them on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to say the Nasty Boys had a different social circle than the X-Force members.
There are a lot of people on Krakoa.
Yeah. So anyways, they melt, and then they're like, well, what the hell's happening? And then you see in the final panel, like it's a shadow, and then you see like a red triangle, and then you see Warren kind of freaking out and like turning gold, and I don't know exactly what's going on with him. And then the final cliffhanger page is stepping out of the shadows. It's Mr. Sinister.
It is, and he says, and now Warren Worthington, you work for Mr. Sinister too. So has he been behind all of this? Is he part of? Because remember, the whole idea of this book is figuring out who is going to try to murder President Kamala Khan in this future timeline.
Yeah.
And we've ruled out Boom Boom. We've ruled out Akihiro because Cable has this list of names scratched into his arm. And he figures it's got to be one of these. So I thought this issue was going to be about ruling out Archangel Warren. But is this saying that he is the culprit because he's controlled by Mr. Sinister? Where's Mr. Sinister been up to? We had seen a clone of Mr. Sinister in Exceptional X-Men and that whole Verite situation. Yep. So I'm glad to see Mr. Sinister back because he's one of the best villains in all of X-Men. Yeah. But I'm very confused as what's actually going on here.
I'm confused, but I think it's intentionally confusing. And Mr. Sinister's often tied up with apocalypse type stuff, so it doesn't shock me to see him appearing. We know he's like a clone master, so the idea of him having like Nasty Boy clones that ultimately like just dissolve when he decides for them to dissolve doesn't seem outside of the scope of things he could do or would do. And he is a master manipulator, so maybe he's tied into like Maxine Danger and all them too, right? Like maybe the Tabitha farm is somehow related to something that he had as a scheme.
If this is all shown next issue as been a Mr. Sinister scheme and we're shown how it worked and it's a clever explanation, I'm definitely on board for that. Which is, as for right now, are we going to see that squirrel with a red diamond on its forehead? Is it a Mr. Sinister squirrel?
Oh my God, I'd actually kind of love that.
That would kind of work. I mean,
the squirrel's been talking to Domino too, right? And she was like, I don't know why there's a squirrel over here, but sure, why not?
It's a Mr. Sinister spy. We know he's cloned animals and done weird, X-Men mutant powers on animals before. That was his whole thing on Krakoa. Yeah. So maybe that's going to happen. But as far as this one issue, I found it more confusing than entertaining. I really, really don't like the art in this. I don't like to complain about the art too much, but the change from the previous issues and 2 whole scenes where I go back and say, I don't know what the hell just happened here, right? Some of the explosion scenes from Boom Boom, and then that scene at the end with Cable being attacked by the Nasty Boys. I don't know what's happening. And that's a bad thing in a comic book because the visuals are supposed to show me what the hell is happening. So overall,
the art failed a bit. Yeah, go ahead and give your score. I'm going to be a lot higher than you. I know that. But
my overall score, I feel like I'm being over generous by giving it a 6 out of 10 because I found this to be the only thing carrying me even that high is, kind of the overall story I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying the idea of, future Kamala Khan who's going to kill her. I'm enjoying the idea that Mr. Sinister's back. That's great. But how we go through the page by page, panel by panel of this book, I did not have a good time. So I'm being generous by giving it a 6.
Yeah. I'm going to go to 7.5. I had a lot more fun with it. I was really upset by that 3rd issue. I felt like the tone was off. And this felt more, the interactions between the characters felt more aligned with what we saw in issues 1 and 2, which I was thinking this is a really promising series. I love seeing Mr. Sinister, and I do think he's a good explanation for some of the weirdness. And if you have like mysteries within mysteries, he's a character that could, be a good explanation for that. I will admit I am probably like a point higher than you based on a, maybe a unfounded belief that this is going to make a ton of sense, in the next issue. I will retroactively like really downgrade this issue if the mysteries are not kind of revealed. I'm very intrigued too, like why Cable seems to have memory loss and doesn't say like, oh, I was attacked by Domino or I saw Domino.
Could that be connected to the very start of the series where he showed up in this timeline not really remembering what happened in the Kamala Khan bit?
Yeah.
Right? And his technology is not quite working. So he was kind of shaken up from the beginning. So is this memory loss of this conversation connected to that memory loss? Maybe that could make sense.
Yeah.
And I'm very ready to give the next issue an 8 or 9 out of 10 if it blows me away. But this particular one and the last issue, just I don't like the direction it's going. And I'm hoping it goes back to where it started, because the first 2 issues we thought, and I thought, were pretty darn great.
I see this as like heading back in the right direction. I agree the artists probably let us down a lot. And the fight scene in particular, I was like, I'm having a hard time following this. And even just the like Warren freaking out and turning like, is the gold mutation version like slightly different than when he said I had some power enabled and was able to heal people? Like, is that a different Archangel
I
form?
don't know. And Mr. Sinister was also uplifted by Apocalypse. So is this Apocalypse being channeled through Mr. Sinister, and that's waking up the Horseman Death inside Angel? Again, we're speculating on all of this. None of it is really explained on panel. So
yeah,
that's where I am.
But these are things I'm curious about. I guess I'm rating it highly because I was like, I want to know what's going to happen, and I would be happy to read the next issue. Whereas, do I really care about what's happening at the end of X-Men United? Like, am I chomping at the bit? I'm kind of like chomping at the bit to get to issue 5 because I don't care what's going on with the Captain America Super Soldier apology.
I think we've kicked around Inglorious X-Force enough. Let's move on to...
It's like an exhaustive deep dive.
That's not the ding sound. Oh, my goodness. I just deleted the ding sound. I'm in big trouble now. Jim, I did it. It wasn't Ruben this time. I deleted the ding sound. But we are going on to Ding, Magik and Colossus, number 3 of 5, which is titled Larvatus Prodeo, which is Latin for I go forth masked, a phrase used by French philosopher René Descartes. So, Ruben, let's do a 20-minute excursion on René Descartes. Deep dive time. That'll be on the bonus you got to be the super, super top tier patron to get that one. This is written by Ashley Allen.
You can sign up for that one send me a message, a DM, and I'll give you the super secret Patreon that you pay that to.
Written by Ashley Allen, art by Germán Peralta, colors by Arthur Hesley, letters by Ariana Mayer. So last issue, after fighting some evil mermaids, the Rasputin siblings got split up when Magik entered a church, saw an old guy in a robe, and got teleported to somewhere. This issue starts with another flashback to their Russian childhoods. The theme here seems to be Pyotr always thinking of himself as Illyana's protector, even when she doesn't need him. I don't think these flashbacks really add much to my experience of this book, but this is happening every issue. This is how the story is being told. We find out that Magik has been teleported into an underground fighting arena run by this title's big bad, a character out of Russian folklore called Koschei the Immortal. She has to fight wave after wave of goons, video game style, and the idea is that Koschei is hoping to wear her down, and if she gets worn down enough, whatever power meter goes to 0, and now she has to work for him. Also, conveniently, the building they're in blocks her soul sword and stepping discs, so she doesn't have her most powerful weapons. And also, if anybody uses a magical spell in this building, the building drains away some of the user's magic. So that's the meter that if that goes to 0, she loses. Eventually, Magik has to fight an actual named character, a Doctor Strange villain named Count Chaos, K-A-O-Z. He's a wizard type who also has bear powers since once he killed and ate a magical bear. That's his story.
That's great.
He has previously been defeated in the way Koschei is trying to defeat Magik, and so Chaos is acting as Koschei's thrall totally under his control. Magik takes a risk and casts a spell transferring some of her magic into Count Chaos, which successfully frees him from Koschei's control, and now Magik has a teammate, although her power meter just went down one rectangle.
Yeah, very video game-esque.
Very, very. Meanwhile, Colossus has been running around figuring out where the hell his sister went, because as far as he knows, she just went through a portal in a Russian church with an old guy. I do not understand how he figures this out, but between issues, he's figured out that not only was his sister's teleportation connected to the Russian mafia, he also figured out which mafia family is responsible, which bar is this Russian mafia family's secret headquarters, and he gets himself hired by that bar. All in, I don't know, how long has she been fighting? Maybe a couple hours max? I do not understand how he gets here. However it happens, Colossus finds the secret back room, busts up the secret mafia poker game, beats up all the goons, and gets them to tell him where their boss hangs out, which is a real-world building called the Lakta Center, a skyscraper in real-world St. Petersburg, which is the tallest building in Russia, the tallest building in Europe, and the 16th tallest building in the entire world. So this is a real place. It's like if they said, oh, there's a secret fighting ring in the Empire State Building, essentially. So Colossus busts into that building, busts into the arena where Magik is fighting. Him busting in creates a hole in the enchantment that allows her to now create the teleportation stepping discs, and she teleports herself, Count Chaos, and her brother out into the Russian wilderness, where they run into Ruben's ex-girlfriend, Baba Yaga, who is also Chaos's ex-girlfriend, Baba Yaga, who is like the most, even I've heard of Baba Yaga, even when I was a kid. She was a witch. She got a house with chicken legs. Yeah. She's like the most famous Russian folklore character.
She looks younger in this one. But then we get this like weird split panel where it's like it's an illusion over her, I guess, evil side.
Right. So that's where we're going to pick up next time. There's less bickering in this issue. I appreciate that. And I think mostly because the siblings are generally not in the same place. I did think it was really funny that once they get together, they start bickering again, and Count Chaos even calls them out on it, even using the word bicker, which is the word I've been using for every issue of this comic. So I need my Count Chaos was right t-shirt. Very funny that I saw that come up. At least Ashley Allen knows that she writes bickery dialogue. I wish she wouldn't, but she is self-aware. Yeah. The art looks pretty cool. He's got some nifty fight scenes. Ashley Allen is trying to tell a deeper story about the sibling relationship between the Rasputins. She's not making me care about that. I don't give a crap about that. Yeah,
there's like a side story about how Peter's the nice guy with the tough skin, and everybody always wanted him to be a tougher, harsher guy than he is. And they talk about how the Rasputin farm was in Siberia because like anyone can grow crops in, a nicer, warmer climate. But
I was going to say Ukraine, but that's touching on issues we don't need to go to. Yeah. In nicer climates. That's not Siberia.
Yeah. But we're tough people by, working the hard, icy land and still are able to grow crops. And then Ileana is like, I'm sorry that I'm such a tough, rough person. I was once a nice girl. And then Peter's like, you were never nice. You're always kind of this tough, gruff person. And oh, by the way, Mom is also a tough, gruff person, and she taught you how to fight, which Ileana doesn't seem to remember.
That's really supposed to be the emotional heart of this book. And I don't know if it's just me, but it's not really being effective for me. Yeah. But it is a perfectly well executed book. The art looks good. So just to jump to my score, I'm calling this a 6.5 out of 10. It's not really my thing, but if you like these characters, it's a perfectly reasonable comic book.
I'm there too. I mean, at the end, you talk about them bickering, but they seem to have kind of, in this issue, starting to come to an understanding of you are who you are, and I am who I am, and I'll respect you. And Peter, you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. And Ileana, like, I don't know what she's learning. You're great for being tough, I guess. That's what we're learning from her.
I guess it is. The cover of the next issue shows the two siblings, like, physically fighting, with Ileana swinging the sword at Colossus. Whether or not that has anything to do with what's in between the covers, who the hell knows, because covers always lie. But we're more than halfway through this 5-issue miniseries, so I guess we're going to have to start wrapping things up pretty soon. Anything else to say about Magik and Colossus?
I like it more than I should like it. It's not terrible. I don't know why. I think it's decent. It's mostly I think the fight scenes are pretty decent, even if it's just a video game thing. But I would say if you do like these characters and you want to see some fun fights, then you could waste your money on something like X-Men United, or you could waste your money on something that's not so bad like this.
Sounds like an endorsement to me. So once again, I do not have the ding sound, so I'm going to say ding sound and hit.
How dare you?
And we're going to move on to our final book. We are done with all of the X books, so if all you care about is X stuff, have a great week. See you next time. But Ruben, we are going to go because we have Imperial Guardians number 2 of, is it only 4 issues? That's a shame.
Yeah, it's a big shame because I genuinely like the team.
It's pretty good. It's written by Dan Abnett, who knows his way around cosmic storytelling. Pencils by Marcelo Ferreira. Inks by Jay Leiston. Colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, who I'm pretty sure has blocked Jim. Letters by Ariana Mayer. So first, let's remind everybody who this kind of funny team is. The leader is Maximus of the Inhumans, who has been exiled from his family and has assembled a team to try to preserve this newly created infant galactic union. Probably also has some other motives that we don't quite know about.
He's kind of like the Beast of the old X-Force, right?
Kind of the Beast of the old X-Force, or
I'm doing
like
the things. I'm doing the things that need to be done, even though they're not nice things, to like keep the government running because the government is worth keeping around.
But does he have even deeper, motives that we don't even know about? I think it's hinted that even beyond that, he has some personal motives that are probably going to come out, well, sooner than later because it's only a 4-issue miniseries.
Well, that's the pill he sold the team on, right? Is like, I'm a bad guy, but I'm doing what has to be done.
Exactly. Very X-Force. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's kind of cool that there's probably a reality is like, no, I'm actually just a bad guy, and I lied to you to get you on the team.
Very well could be. So the rest of the team is Gamora, Captain Marvel, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Amadeus Cho, and Darkhawk. So the structure of this issue is a lot like the structure of the first issue. We begin by being thrown into the middle of a mission already in progress, and through a combination of dialogue and flashbacks, the reader is able to piece together what's going on, why the team is here. Now, as usual on the podcast, we're going to try to tell the whole thing chronologically. Not a knock on the issue. I think it works really well in the comic. It's just hard to talk about that way. So, chronologically, we start about 300 years ago. I'm assuming these are Earth years, Ruben. The Shi'ar Empire hid war fleets all over their extensive territory, just in case one of their emperors got into a spot of trouble, needed a fleet in a hurry.
Wasn't that the whole story that we were going to get with Xavier and that book that never came out?
Oh, did they mention that in there?
Yeah, at the end of that, at the end of, they were like heading off because they were like, oh, we need to, go to this planet and like get our fleet so that we can go try to take back.
That's
the
right.
Empire.
I had not realized that connection. Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that was because with the Majestrix did get into a spot of bother there and was off to get a fleet. And we still have no idea what the hell happened to her because that book was supposed to be called Exiles with a capital X. Yeah. And it got canceled. And we'll resolve that sometime, or maybe we'll pretend it never happened. I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm reading that and I'm like nodding. I'm like, oh yes, of course they did that. We knew that. They did this in different planets.
They've done it a bunch of times. We've got all these receptacles all over the galaxy. They look a lot like the Sword space station.
Yeah.
Very much. I guess maybe that's just how you build space stations, and it's just that's a design that makes sense. Could be.
Yeah.
Over the centuries, a lot of these receptacles were lost and forgotten about, and some of them, as the galactic borders shift around, the empires, trade territory, some of them end up on the other side of territorial borders.
Mm-hmm.
One of these receptacles, still full of dangerous Shi'ar warships, has just been found by a minor galactic power called Zarth 3.
Yes.
This empire seems to be mostly known for their team of heroes called the Luminals, who are explicitly the Zarthian version of the Avengers. Now,
have they been featured before?
I was going to ask you if you knew about them because they have apparently been in like 9 previous issues, including like 5 issues of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, interesting.
But maybe not a Dan Abnett run of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I forget what year, probably like 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So here they are in this. They've been in a couple of Nova issues. They've been a couple issues of Guardians of the Galaxy, and here they are. I think always in Dan Abnett books. I think they're a Dan Abnett thing.
One of his things, yeah.
Right. So Gamora is the only member of this team who knows of the Zarthians, presumably because she was in those Guardians of the Galaxy stories.
Right.
Maximus says that if the Zarthians figured out how to unlock the password on this receptacle, they'll get these hands on all these weapons. It'll destabilize the galaxy, and that would be a bad thing.
Right.
So it's not like the Zarthians are the enemy. It's just like, I don't know, pick a random country in the middle of South America. If they suddenly found a whole bunch of nuclear weapons, that would complicate matters. We wouldn't want that to happen.
Right.
So this team does have the firepower to just blow up the whole damn receptacle. Like between Captain Marvel, Cosmic Ghost Rider, they could just blow it up, which is basically what Captain Marvel did last issue.
Yeah.
But blowing up so many warships would also ignite the planet, ignite the moon, ignite the star, kill like millions of Zarthians. They prefer to avoid that.
Yeah, it's just like a nuclear bomb. You don't want to, hey, there's a nuclear weapon in a vault. Let's blow up the vault, right? Maybe not the best idea.
Right. I mean, I think they're willing to do that if that is the only way to stop this thing, but they say, we've got another way to do this. We have another plan. Amadeus Cho figures it out. The plan is we're going to sneak onto this receptacle and plant these 3 relay MacGuffin doohickeys. And because of technobabble, 20 minutes after planting these things, there'll be a 10-second window that will allow Amadeus Cho to tweak the firmware on the receptacle.
Yeah.
Because right now, the Zarthians get to try to, like, one guess at the passcode every 28 Earth minutes. And there's a whole running gag about Earth minutes, Earth years, Earth time, the whole thing. So, like, every half hour, I'm going to say, they get to make one guess. I don't know how many digits are in this passcode, but eventually they're going to crack it. Amadeus Cho says, hey, let's just change the amount of time in between guesses to like millions of years. That way they won't be able to open it.
Yeah. It's like what I do with Word documents when people send me password-protected Word documents. Do you know the trick on that? You can like save it as an HTML file, and then you go into the HTML file and edit the password field. You can change the password to whatever the hell you want it to be, and then you save it back as a Word document, and then suddenly you can unlock your Microsoft Word documents.
Microsoft security. How wonderful.
Yes. So I was like, I've done this.
Mm-hmm. So I guess this does not seem like a good plan to me. I know Amadeus Cho is supposed to be like either the 5th or 6th smartest person on Earth.
Yeah.
But Ruben, if he can change the firmware to make the guessing time longer, what do you think there's somewhere in the galaxy, someone who could also hack the firmware to make the time
0.
half a second?
Yes.
So it doesn't seem like, even if this works, like it's a permanent solution. It seems like a very temporary solution to me, but it's written in this book like if he changes the firmware, that's it. No more threat. All these Shi'ar warships are never going to be able to be used.
I'm just going to say he's also going to patch the security vulnerability, but they don't bother to mention that.
They don't mention that. But we're just going to do this thing. So we've now reached page 1 of the issue. Because we jump into the middle, we see the various members of the team. They've kind of split up. They're on different parts of this receptacle space station trying to plant their MacGuffins.
Yep.
So we've got Gamora. She's working alone. She has placed her relay, but is now engaged in a hand-to-hand combat with the leader of the Luminals, known as the Sinishore. They're basically sword fighting. Sinishore is not so impressed with Gamora. You're supposed to be the most dangerous woman in the universe, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. Turns out that Gamora could have won the fight at any time, was merely just trying to delay the Sinishore long enough for that 28 minutes to pass. Once the 28 minutes passes, Gamora ends the fight quickly. Pretty cool fight scene, some decent weapons, some decent dialogue. The twist at the end that, no, I was just messing with you, I thought that worked pretty well.
Yeah, it worked really well. Because I had those questions too, right? I'm like, oh, come on, don't depower Gamora. Like, she's supposed to be a total badass, and everyone knows she is, right?
Right. So it's making, at first, it's making this
out,
leader of the Luminals seem
is.
also like a badass, and then, no, I was just killing time here.
Yeah.
So that's the Gamora part of things. And again, we've got multiple flashing around scenes here. I'm trying to make it make sense.
And there's some good badass talk too. Like, I want to particularly say I liked the scene where this liminal character is like, here's the names of my famous weapons.
That was very cool.
Gamora's like, I call it left and right.
Yeah. This one has, this symbolizes that. No, I'm just going to kill you with lefty and righty. Very nice. Very well done.
Yeah.
Next, we have Captain Marvel and Nighthawk. They're working together on a lower level of receptacle. They place their relay and they fight nobody. It's empty, unguarded, no one around. So they get to have a quiet conversation, mostly about Nighthawk's feelings, how he doesn't feel qualified to be on his team. Darkhawk? What did I say?
Nighthawk.
Dark Knight. Yes, he's the Dark Knight, written by Frank Miller.
Darkhawk. Yes.
Hawk Knight. like I said.
Which is kind of the point. I mean, he's talking about how he's been around forever, but he's kind of like he has no purpose, and nobody really respects him or knows anything about him.
And all through my notes, it says Nighthawk every time. So I'm going to keep saying, let's just pretend I'm saying it wrong on purpose.
Yes.
So Darkhawk, he's talking. I don't get no respect. I don't deserve no respect. I guess Carol's been teasing him, and he's been taking that teasing very, very seriously. So we also get reminded of the apocalyptic visions he has because of this weird armor he's connected with. And, you know, the chat is pretty good here. Carol says, okay, I'm going to stop giving you such a hard time. You stop being such a sad sack.
I just want to talk about another line that I thought was really good is, you know, when he's saying, hey, stop teasing me, basically. And then he transforms. And she's like, Carol's like, that change thing you do is pretty cool.
Right.
And then he's like, oh, so the cool thing I do is not being a Darkhawk.
Right. This is when he transforms back to being a regular dude. And she's looking for something to compliment him on. And it just doesn't work out so well. The dialogue is well written. I enjoy it.
It's good.
Also, it does feel like this vision, Darkhawk's vision, is going to be where this story is going to wrap up.
Right.
And I think that Dan Abnett probably wanted to slow play it a little more.
Yeah.
But now we only have 4 issues, so we got to kind of lean into the visions a little harder.
Yeah, and it makes it sad to me because this is the banter and the interactions are really good, and I wish it could play out at a pace that was less accelerated.
Yeah, I'd be happy to read 20 issues of this team, and we're going to get 4, which is 4 more than we get of Exile, so we should be grateful for what we get, but I want more of this. Okay, next we have Cosmic Ghost Rider, all by himself, because who wants to work with Frank? He's solo on yet another level. He's placed his relay, but he is facing massive resistance, like wave after wave, again, video game style. All the luminals are drawn to him, possibly because, you know, his head is on fire. He is radiating this cosmic power cosmic, however you want to say it. And so he gets like 99% of all the fighting is happening with him. And he doesn't really care about the whole let's not kill people thing. He is just slaughtering these otherworldly Avengers left and right.
Yeah.
Mostly ones that have never appeared on panel before, right? The actual named ones get to survive, the ones who've been in Guardians of the Galaxy before. But we're told this is like this world's Avengers team, so Dan Abnett and Jay Leiston can invent whatever crazy alien superheroes they want and then kill them right off. And they're having a good time doing it.
And I can just imagine if this was a longer run, this would have some real ramifications, right? Like you can imagine 5 issues from now when like the team is hunting down this group because of what they did here on the space. But alas, we will never see that.
They probably wanted to be stealthy. Cosmic Ghost Rider not being stealthy.
Yeah.
Finally, we have Amadeus Cho. He's back on the jump ship. He's not taking part in the fighting. He's supposed to be back there, the man in the chair on the computer, ready to do his fixing the firmware thing. But he is visited by 3 spirits. No, wait, that's Charles Dickens. He's visited by 3 luminals, including Jarhead, who is a psychic brain in a jar, who's one of the luminals who's been in the most issues. It's like, if you know the luminals, this is like the one luminal you know.
Mm-hmm.
Jarhead figured out what was going on and is here to prevent Amadeus Cho from rewriting that firmware. So Cho just pops on his Hulk-busting armor, and unfortunately we don't get to see what happens because it cuts away, the fight happens off panel, but he basically kicks their punk asses in 2 seconds without breaking a sweat. So he is able to change the lockout period to 1 guess every billion years. Mission accomplished. We now cut to one final scene, sometime later back at headquarters, a scene between Gamora and Cosmic Ghost Rider. Gamora wants to know, hey Frank, you are super OP. Why would you choose to be a henchman for Maximus? You don't seem the type to even care about galactic stability. What's your deal here? Frank says that, well, he likes the killing.
I like the killing.
And then the issue closes ominously with him saying, quote, this gig suits my purposes for now. You'll see. So once again, this seems like something that Dan Abnett probably wanted to slow play Cosmic Ghost Rider's motivations over a longer arc, but we don't get that, so we have to accelerate that plotline a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the end of the issue. I
I'd
guess
say
we're at the halfway mark of the whole series. Yep.
Abnett's handling is still pretty well. Like, it is certainly accelerated, but it doesn't feel so bad, right?
Right. We've read other stories where it's been much more obvious. I'm just saying that these particular ones, I think he probably wanted to go slow on, but it reads perfectly fine. It doesn't feel super rushed. I'm just imagining that this could have easily been a much longer play.
Yep. And I like this idea of Cosmic Ghost Rider very clearly on Front Street working more for Maximus, right? He's on the team, but he's not really with the team. And
right. He was with Maximus when we first found out Maximus was doing anything back in Imperial.
Yeah. And even people like Gamora seem to be a little scared of him, which I think is pretty cool. Like he's very clearly like kind of a threat. Nobody's going to tell him he can't do what he wants to do because he's Cosmic Ghost Rider.
He has Ghost Rider demonic powers. He has the power cosmic. He's from another universe. He's the friggin' Punisher. Right? All these things. He's a scary dude. So whatever he's up to, you probably don't want to be in the way. So a fun issue. The art looks super cool. It's told in I won't say a confusing way, but a complicated way that pays off the complication. As you read it, you understand where you started, why you started.
Yeah,
I kind of like it has the same structure as issue 1. Like it feels like this book has an identity and a way of telling stories that's its own kind of thing. And that's kind of neat. It reminds me of that new Avengers book that was told in its own kind of way. And you knew when you opened it up, it was not going to be a linear story, but you had confidence it was all going to work out.
Yeah, so far, I mean, only 50% of the way through, but I've enjoyed both issues immensely. And again, I'm sad that it's not going to go beyond 4. But if it's 4 solid issues like this, I'm going to say like this is a trade that you could pick up, and it's a fun, self-contained story.
Let's hope so. I'm giving this issue an 8 out of 10. Next issue, the Guardians, we're told, will be fighting the Shi'ar Super Guardians for control of a decryption algorithm. Lots of firmware and algorithm stuff going on in this book. I wonder what that's about. But that looks like
the
fun.
Time.
Let's get the Super Guardians in here.
We're going to have some. When do you think somebody's going to say vibe coding? That's going to come up in one of these issues very soon, right?
Well, AI is always in these books. AI has been a thing in Marvel Universe for so long that they can hardly say, oh, it's a new thing now, because it goes back to Ultron and before. Well, that was the final issue we had to talk about today, Ruben. Looking ahead to next week, we get Cyclops number 3 of 5. We get Rogue number 4 of 5. We get Wade Wilson Deadpool number 3. And we get Wolverine number 19. So all solo books next week, no team books. Could be good, could be bad. I'm hoping Deadpool gets more interesting because I kind of like the first issue. Issue 2 felt like it went nowhere. Cyclops, that's probably the one that I have the highest hopes for. Him versus the Reavers, the whole I'm blind, get help thing.
It was getting better. I was not so onto. Well, I know you've liked it pretty much consistently all along, but even for me, like I thought issue 2 was stronger than issue 1, and I am kind of excited to see what happens. It'll be nice to see a Cyclops that's not just shown to be a jerk and a chump.
That would be nice. And in Wolverine, last we saw, he was fighting Hercules, and then Athena showed up and kind of froze them both. So maybe I'm hoping this adamantine story gets wrapped up because I'm kind of sick of it. Well, for recommended reading, I guess one thing that gets referenced a lot is I forgot the name of it. It's War of Kings. A lot of my wiki dives lately, especially in the cosmic world, end up going back to War of Kings. So I think that's where I'm going to do some reading because that feels like it's an important story I haven't read. So that's going to be my suggestion. Ruben, anything you want to recommend?
I took Garb Jones's advice and started reading Next Wave.
Oh, yes.
And the first issue, was a little tongue-in-cheek, but done it's clearly done by a competent writer, and I'm having a little bit of fun with it, so I'm going to keep up with it. So if it's going to be relevant to the Inglorious X-Force story, I'm not sure we're totally done with it since Maxine's now shown up in 2 issues. You might check that out and get more of an understanding of that world.
And Maxine's also part of Adjectiveless X-Men, so she is all over the place.
Yep.
Okay, so Ruben, while we're reading all our solo books and catching up on Next Wave, what else can our wonderful listeners do with their beautiful spring days?
Read more X-Men comics.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
I like the killing.